I thank my honourable friend for that question. It's important that we grasp all opportunities to level up our economy through tourism, and that could include a passenger ferry between Ilfracombe and South Wales. Of course, many of the policy levers affecting the visitor economy in Wales are devolved, and it's important that interested parties work closely with the relevant councils on the matter. Mr. Speaker, the UK Government is passionate about tourism, unlike the Welsh Government, who seem more focused on putting in place a tourism tax.
Stephen Kinnock.
Question 6, please, sir.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Steel is vital to the UK, and we are actively engaging with our industry to secure a positive and sustainable future. Industrial sectors, including steel, have been able to bid into government funds worth more than £1 billion to support them to cut emissions and become more energy efficient.
Stephen Kinnock.
Mr. Speaker, the governments of the United States and the EU have developed active industrial strategies with multi-billion-pound investments to support their steel industries as they transition to green steel production. And here in the UK, the cavalry is coming in the form of a Labour government and our £3 billion Clean Steel Fund. What a contrast with the party opposite, which is completely and utterly asleep at the wheel on steel. So when will the Secretary of State start standing up for our proud Welsh steel industry, and when will he start getting his colleagues in Cabinet to wake up to the fact that we are losing the race for green steel investment?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, the honourable member will be aware that the Secretary of State for Business and Trade visited Tata Steel in Port Talbot only very recently, and I think that shows her commitment to it. He'll also be aware of the British Industry Supercharger that was announced only a few months ago, which aims to bring energy costs for energy-intensive industries such as steel production in line with those of other similar countries.
Steve Morgan.
Question number 10, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With permission, I will answer questions 10 and 11 together. This government is committed to supporting the decarbonisation of Welsh industry. We have committed £20 billion over the next 2 decades to the deployment of innovative carbon capture technology, and this builds on the existing support for the HyNet cluster in North Wales and North West England, and the £21.5 million to develop the South Wales industrial cluster.
Steve Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The best way to bring down bills in the long term for businesses in Wales and across the UK is to help transition industries away from fossil fuels. That is why Labour is calling for a national wealth fund so that we can help industries like steel win the race for the future. Can the Minister tell the House specifically what steps he's taking to help heavy industry decarbonise?
Well, I thank him for that question. Of course, he's aware of an array of funds that are in place to help decarbonisation: the Carbon Capture, Utilisation and Storage Infrastructure Fund, the Industrial Fuel Switching Fund, the Industrial Decarbonisation Research and Innovation Centre, the Competitive Industrial Energy Transformation Fund, and the Industrial Strategy Challenge Fund, amongst others.
Order. Lesterson.
But the UK is the only country in the G7 whose steel industry is currently in decline.
Yeah.
So why won't the government end their sticking plaster approach, match Labour's commitment to a £3 billion green steel fund, and invest in a long-term plan to decarbonise the vital steel sector in Wales?
Well, I would repeat what I said earlier, which is that the Secretary of State has visited the plant in Port Talbot very recently. She's committed to it. We do need to see an electric arc furnace. That is the way forward to protect jobs and to ensure that we have steel production in the UK.
Stephen Crabb.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The industrial corridor that runs along South Wales all the way west to my constituency is one of the most important in the UK. It's also one of the most challenging when it comes to decarbonisation. Does my honourable friend agree with me that the government's policies, the Powering Up Britain set of energy interventions, the Celtic Freeport that we secured, point the way to a successful decarbonisation strategy for this critically important part of Wales?
Well, my right honourable friend, of course, is absolutely right there. South Wales doesn't have former oil and gas fields in which we can store carbon, but it does have the Celtic Freeport and non-pipeline transport of captured carbon to fields elsewhere is what will secure decarbonisation for South Wales.
Robbie Moore.